being a part of this conversation.
They were dead.
Oh, I'm muted. Do I have to start over? Okay, I'll try to do that again really quickly. For those of you at our distance sites, we welcome you. We have 3 distance sites, our UGA Tifton campus, UGA Griffin campus, Rock Eagle 4-H Center, and then we have people joining us virtually from all over the Southeast, from Washington, D.C., from industry and other different entities, so we appreciate you being here as well. We are hosting this UGA Women in Agriculture Leadership Luncheon Series in the College of Ag and Environmental Sciences, but we welcome all of our partner entities. We have people here from the vet school, people from forestry, people from public service and outreach, people from family and consumer sciences, people from industry, from USDA. So we appreciate everyone coming together that is interested in this topic. One of the reasons we wanted to start this leadership series is that we wanted to give an opportunity for women in agriculture just to meet each other, to get to know each other, and to facilitate the conversation. You know, if you are a public service and outreach faculty at the University of Georgia, a few years ago, collaborations became one of the really big things you're judged on for promotion. Well, the thing is, it's really easy to tell people to collaborate, but what I've observed is until people know each other, they're not going to collaborate. So in the spirit of helping people get to know each other and get to know the wonderful people that work in our college, at the university, and beyond, we wanted to start this series. I'll tell you a little bit more about our plans for the networking luncheon, but first of all, let me give you a little background on the Women in Ag initiative in general. About a year ago, we were approached from USDA. At that time, Krista Harden was the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture. Many of you know that Krista Harden grew up in the neighboring county to where I grew up. She grew up in Mitchell County. I grew up in Colquitt County, both in South Georgia. And if you've ever talked to either of us, you can probably figure that out. We both have definite Southern twangs. But Krista is very passionate about women in leadership roles in agriculture and wanted to do all she could to facilitate that. While she was at USDA, that was always one of her big initiatives and something that she really pushed. And she and Dean Angle started talking, and then many others of us joined into the conversation. And we decided last year that we would host a summit at the University of Georgia, and we would try to bring together women in agriculture from across the Southeast, and we could start to talk about these issues. So we hosted the inaugural summit in February, and we had about 170 participants from all of the 13 southern states and the District of Columbia. We were thrilled to have representation from every southern state. The first thing I want to do is show you a video from that and just kind of catch you up on the summit if you were not a participant in that last February. Okay, maybe I won't. Okay. They told me just to stand here. Evidently, I have to do more than just stand here. Oh, there it is. This is Travis, the king of technology. Thank you, Travis. This is a cool video. Y'all close your eyes until we get it ready. And it worked flawlessly earlier. Oh, of course.
All this works flawlessly. And there's no audience.
And about half of agriculture farm employees are women. But they still have extremely low rates of farm ownership, corporate board memberships, and policy-making positions. On February 8, 2016, more than 100 women from 13 states gathered at the University of Georgia to discuss leadership roles for women in agriculture at the inaugural Southern Region Women's Agricultural Leadership Summit. Their goal was simple: to find ways to support female leaders in the ag sector.
We have voices, we have loud voices. We're making decisions for our own families. What is more important than that? Making sure they're also heard is we're talking about policies and decisions that elected officials recognize the role that we play. that we're serving on boards and commissions and county committees, that we are in that short list for CEO, dean, and actually getting chosen.
Summit delegates identified 3 major needs. A need for more support among peers.
We don't do enough to support each other. If you ever notice men at the table, the conference table, and somebody will raise a point and the guy says, "Oh, good idea, Joe, good idea, Bill." Okay, how many women go, "Hey, Nancy, great idea." You've got to express those things, and you have to be supportive of each other.
We need to embrace each other, we need to help each other, encourage each other to make sure that we recognize them, we encourage them to make sure that they happen.
A need for more formal mentoring.
We can do it if we help each other, empower each other.
To take up leadership roles they've not traditionally been offered.
When the door opens, we don't have to wait for someone to push us through the door. You can step through the door. You are the architect of your future.
It's very important that we believe in ourselves, that we believe in ourselves enough to speak up. We believe in ourselves enough to go when no one else is going to go. We believe in ourselves enough to do when no one else is going to do.
Leadership is not something that somebody appoints you to. If you wait for an opportunity to step into leadership and you wait for somebody to appoint you, you may be waiting a long time.
The Southern Region Women's Agricultural Leadership Summit's Organizing Committee will publish the report from the summit. To read the full report and to find out more about how you can support women in agriculture, visit www.womeninag.caes.uga.edu.
Okay, if you were a part of the Southeastern Women's Leadership Summit, I hope you thought that it was a wonderful opportunity, and we have really done a lot to categorize the data since that time. One of the priorities we've had from this initiative is to be able to publish some actual findings from this. So when you came in today, you got a copy of our inaugural report. I definitely want to give a shout out to Lauren Ledbetter-Griffith, Jenny Jordan, and Lori Tiller. They are the ones that compiled the majority of the text in here, and I want to thank Katie Walker in our Office of Communications and Creative Services. She's laid this out beautifully. When I look at this, it makes me want to read it, and so I hope it does to you too. This will be posted to our website, but I hope that you will want to read this. Another of our goals that USDA asked when we did this originally is that we would create a framework that another state or any other entity that wanted to do a similar type of conference could follow us and so that is all included in this report as well. So I think someone could pick this up and take it and replicate it in their state. We have a few people listening in today from other states, and they want to start a luncheon series like this in their state. So we hope that this will be replicated as well. So I hope that you have an opportunity to read some of those research findings, and you'll go to our website and continue to think about this. Our goal is to publish quite a bit off of the data that we collected. I think, where's Lauren? I think we've got 6 publications already in the plans, and we'll continue to work on that. So we're very excited about that opportunity as well. I do want to thank the President's Venture Fund and the UGA Women's Leadership Initiative. They helped fund our original summit, and this is just another spinoff of a priority that the university has to promote opportunities for women in leadership roles. So we appreciate the support of our overall UGA administration. A couple of the things that came out of this summit you saw in the video, and for me they're kind of no-brainers, but you know, a lot of times research actually just documents stuff we know already that we just hadn't taken the time to document. But in order for women to be successful in leadership roles, whether they're in agricultural roles or other roles, they've got to support each other. We need to support each other, and that is really important. It's also important to connect with mentors and good role models. And we need to think about both traditional and non-traditional roles. We don't want our students to think, well, I can't go into that field or I can't go into that job. We want them to look at the big possibilities out there. So these are some of the things that we'll continue to discuss as we move forward. So what is next for us? We had such a great experience at the summit in February. We wanted to figure out a way to follow this up. So we will continue to document and use some of the data we found and publish some of the findings. But for me, I think it is really important for people to be able to network and to know each other so that they'll actually work together. And so that's why I wanted to start this Leadership Luncheon series. Now, we are going to be focusing on women in ag leadership roles, but this is not a conversation just for women. As Krista Harden said, we welcome all enlightened men, too. So we appreciate those men that joined us today, and I would encourage you to go back and encourage your male colleagues to come the next time, because I think we need interdisciplinary and integrated teams, because the more diverse our teams are, the better the results are going to be. So this is one of the ideas that we have. We'll start this quarterly series. But if you have other ideas of how we can keep this momentum going, please send me a note so that we can think about that. So we want to be able to give women the opportunity to be able to professionally develop, to be a part of teams, to know who other people are across the college and the university and the state, so that there's opportunities for networking. And then we need to get to know each other. I mean, every day I see great collaboration opportunities between our college and the vet school or forestry. But, you know, if we all stay in our little silos, those things never happen. So we need to reach out and make it intentional that we work together. So today we are going to feature a couple of our great faculty in the College of Ag and Environmental Sciences. My idea was that we would feature one kind of basic researcher and one kind of applied researcher, so that you could see the breadth and scope of what goes on in agriculture. And also it would help us start to think about, you know, how do we include some of these different types of people in our interdisciplinary teams. So without further ado, I want to move into the fun part of the program, where we feature a couple of our great faculty. Oh, wait, I forgot. Something really exciting is that our Southscapes magazine, that is a publication put out by the College of Ag and Environmental Sciences, this new edition features women in ag. And it will be coming out, it will be mailing in the next couple of weeks, but we had some advanced copies, and so this was really a big feat for us to be able to roll out these advanced copies. Today we invited any woman that was featured in this magazine to join us, and many of them are with us here today, either in Tifton, Griffin, Athens, or Rock Eagle. So if you were one of those featured in this issue of Southscapes, would you please stand up and let us recognize you? When I got the advanced copy of this, I was just absolutely delighted. Catherine Chirillo is the editor, and I know she kept wondering why I kept bugging her about getting a copy of this, but I had the opportunity to suggest a lot of my friends, co-workers, and people that I went to school with that I've known for a long time, and I was so excited to see them featured. Joanna Davis was one of my undergraduate friends when I was in animal and dairy science. She went on to be a vet. She couldn't be with us today, but isn't she a great cover girl? I sent her a note last night with a picture of this. So we congratulate all of you that are featured in Southscapes. We thank Catherine for her great work, and the Office of External Relations here in the college that helped us turn out this wonderful publication. And we just appreciate being able to feature some of the wonderful women in ag. Now we will move forward. Obviously, it's a good thing I don't have a teaching appointment, because I'm obviously not very good at this technology. Okay, Today, I told you I wanted to feature a basic scientist and an applied scientist, and I started thinking, out of all the great people at this university, you know, who would I pick? Well, I started chuckling because at the time I had just been on the Dean Search Committee, and I was on the search committee with Kristen Navara. Well, one of the funny things about Kristen Navara and Maria Navarro is people get them confused all the time. So one's a basic scientist and one's a social scientist, so they don't really even do very much of the same things. So I thought it would be really interesting to feature the two of them, and let's see how diverse and how different their work is, but also how many similarities there are. Like I said, I'd always heard of Kristen. Everyone says she's one of the best basic scientists in our college. She's a rock star in the poultry science world, but I really did not know her very well until we served on a committee, because we have different responsibilities. Another great example of those silos. So the first meeting we had, I saw her and she saw me, and I was like, I'm so glad we're on this committee together because I've been wanting to get to know you. And she said the same thing. So I was like, great. She does a lot of cutting edge research in the area of poultry science that I'm not even going to begin to try to describe. She's going to describe a little bit of that to us. But she has a bachelor's degree in biology from Penn State and a PhD in Auburn. From Auburn, and I told her it's obvious she's so smart she just skipped her master's altogether. She does a lot of very cutting-edge research, but she does a great job of bringing in grant funding, but one of the things that she's very noted for is working on multidisciplinary teams, and she does a lot of work not just in the College of Ag and Environmental Sciences, but across the university working on different integrated teams, and I think that is really important. She won the Early Career Research Award from the Poultry Science Association, and one of the things I found out about her, I told her I was like kind of stalking her on Facebook and asking people about her, but she's an excellent writer. She has a great background in English and literature, and one of the things she's kind of known for is giving her research publications very catchy titles so people will want to read about her basic science research. She has two daughters. One was an infant while we were on the Dean Search Committee, so she was constantly on the phone talking to her husband, so she knows about balancing work and family. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kristen Navara and let her tell us what she does.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. When you want to advance, you just push that down. Okay. It works for me. I hope it works for me. Thank you for that introduction. I don't know if I can follow it. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I think this is so important. It's so important for us to recruit more women into this field. Despite how many we have, I'm amazed at how many are here. We need to recruit more women, but we also really need to celebrate the women that are here, and especially those in leadership roles, like many in this room. We have this amazing opportunity now that we didn't used to have to actually influence what we do in our college and what our university does as well. And that's actually really incredible if you think about it. So I'm very excited to be part of this initiative. So Laura asked me to tell you a little bit about how I got here. I am a New Jersey native from suburban New Jersey. And I know that a lot of you guys, if you're not from here, think of New Jersey in a particular way, potentially. And traffic, so toxic waste, traffic, I've heard Untitled of America, that's what I've heard. Also, the way that we talk. And ignore him. By the way, my exit is 156 and the exit for the mall is 154. This is not really where I'm from. This is where I'm from. There's a pristine part of New Jersey that includes a lot of mountains and beautiful areas. If you actually look at a map of New Jersey, not that much of it is developed. The red parts are the developed part. The rest of it is forest, and there is some agriculture there too. Believe it or not, it's called the Garden State. So I really enjoyed growing up there. One of the best parts, though, about particularly where I grew up, was that I had the opportunity to do anything that I wanted as a woman. It was expected that I was going to go and do anything that I wanted to do, and so I did. I went to college at Penn State. And many people at this point, when they hear Penn State, think of these things. When I was an undergraduate, to be completely honest, That's what I thought of too. Much better light back then. But I was part of the Everly College of Science. I was pre-med and I was part of the biology program. And this is just a picture of the science club. I'm not here. But just to show you, at first glance, you can see right away that there are way more women than men in this group. And that's because science is really becoming infiltrated by women. We have more opportunities to become part of science. We have more opportunities to become doctors and leaders in agriculture. And I think that's really, really exciting. And this is how I was brought up. This is where I went to college. This is how, what I experienced as I was going forward. So I did not become a doctor, obviously. The research bug bit me. And I went to Auburn University, and I had to make the scary transition from you guys. My family caught me saying y'all. I slipped one time, and I still have not written it down. But they've accepted it. Actually, they moved down here, and they're now saying it too. Auburn was awesome, a wonderful opportunity. I had amazing opportunities to do a lot of field work and things that women wouldn't have had the opportunity to do 20 years ago. I know when my major professor started, there were 2 women herpetologists that she was used to tell us, and that was it. And now, there are so many. And so I had opportunities to work on many different projects while I was there. I got to do some reproductive behavior work with brown bats. I got to go to Brazil and do some comparative work with tropical and temperate toads. And I slept through the swamps. I actually thought that when I went to did field work, I had to wear camo, and that's why I did that. I was so bad for that. And we got to work with gopher tortoises here in Georgia in Fort Benning. So those are just some of the fun projects I got to take part in. But my passion while I was there was my dissertation research, which focused on house midges and bluebirds. And those were my favorites. I just loved I couldn't believe when I first held a wild bird in my hand, that I could do that. That's incredible. That's something I never thought I would ever get to do. And I think sometimes we take that for granted at this point, that you can do those things. You see undergraduates' faces light up and make it. What I did there was I looked at how those birds put hormones into the yolks of their eggs and how that ultimately influences the growth and the immunity of their offspring. So long-term effects of what they can do. So that was my dissertation work. I worked on the exotic field site at the Auburn University campus. That's where I did all my stuff, but it did include some field work. So I climbed ladders that I did fall off of multiple times. Some of my bluebird boxes were in agricultural sites and forestry sites, so you can see that was my dabbling of agriculture there at that time. And we did a lot of bird trapping at the time, so that was my dissertation work. And the one time this is actually the first time I was really exposed to agriculture. These were my friends that followed me around while I packed my bluebird boxes. A little scary at first, but we became pals along the way. So that was fun. So as you can see, my background is not traditional to getting to this point. After working at Auburn, I decided to go and try my hand at some medical research. So I went to the Ohio State University. Don't mess that up. In downtown Columbus. And it was a great place. It was really nice. And I worked on these really sweet guys. These are Siberian hamsters. And the one on the left, these are both the same species. The one on the left was reared in summer day lengths, and the one on the right was reared in winter day lengths. And the whole purpose of our lab was to look at the influences of seasonality on reproductive behavior, maternal behavior, and ultimately in my work, sex ratios that these guys produced. And it was really a lot of fun. But working with rodents and in medical research is really restricted in a lot of ways. And my heart really stuck with birds. And so ultimately, I did end up back with birds here at UGA, and that's really why. So through all of this, I really learned something amazing, and that's that females in general are extremely powerful. Women contribute nutrients, hormones, factors, all kinds of things during the 9 months that they have their babies inside of them that ultimately permanently programs their metabolic axis. Whether they're going to get type 2 diabetes, whether they're going to get hypertension, how they cope with stressful situations in adulthood. All of that happens. All of that is programmed in the first 9 months that they're alive inside of the woman, and the woman has control of that, which is pretty incredible. If you're a rat, the amount of time that you spend grooming your babies ultimately determines how fearful they are as adults. If you're a bird, the amount of hormone, particularly testosterone, that you put into the yolks of your eggs influences how much your babies beg, how fast they grow, and how aggressive they are in the long term as adults. And if you're a turtle, the depth that you bury your eggs will determine whether the embryos in those eggs become male or female. Amazing control that vertebrates have ubiquitously, really. All of these vertebrates have amazing control to program permanently the physiology and the behavior of their offspring. So that's a pretty big amount of power that we have. And in realizing this, I was really excited about all this stuff. But what really became exciting was the potential to harness this and use it in a way that we can apply it in agriculture in particular, because agriculture, we need food. We need to be able to feed the world, the growing population. So there are things we can do to harness this power and use it for good. And so that's what brought me to poultry science. I started thinking about how you could use this in poultry. And that got I was really excited about it. Our department was excited about it. And that's how I came here. So that was my introduction to agriculture. A little bit non-traditional, but I'm super excited to be here because for once, I feel like I can actually use this work to do something good with it. And that's super exciting to me. So here's what we can do with it. In the poultry industry, we have got a heck of a lot of chicks. And annually, over 200 million of them are killed because they are the wrong sex. And that's kind of sad. And that's because we have two types of birds. Two types of birds in our industry. We have meat-type birds. And we have egg-type birds. If you're a female meat-type bird, you don't produce enough meat to be profitable. If you're a male egg-type bird, well, you don't lay eggs. And so I hope, if you did, I'd be really excited to know. So basically, those are killed because there's nothing else to be done with them. And that's really sad. And this has gained a lot of attention, especially from welfare agencies who wrongly accuse the poultry industry of doing some bad things. So this is actually just a video that came out. I'm not going to show it to you, but that came out really recently, kind of hacking the poultry industry for this process. And even big corporations like Unilever have pledged to end this killing of male chicks. And so people are very interested in this. Not only is it a welfare problem, but it is also an economic problem. You're losing half of the chicks that you hatch out. And so we really want to solve this problem. We want to make it better. The cool thing is about chickens is that female birds do have the capability to adjust to the sexes of the offspring that they produce, which is pretty awesome. In the wild, we see it all the time. If there's low food availability, you produce a heck of a lot of males. That's what the wild birds do. So my background in wild birds really lent itself to this. And now I'm trying to make it happen in poultry. Just a little bit about this. Poultry and birds in general have sex chromosomes just like we do, but the female is the one that determines the sex. So in humans, the male has an XY chromosome. In poultry, it's the opposite. It's called WZ just because it's the opposite. What we can do is we can alter the hormonal environment so that we purposefully alter which one goes where. So if we give them a whole lot of, if you can either give them a certain hormone to make her put the W chromosome in the egg and make a female. We've been putting a whole lot of testosterone in the female to make her put the Z chromosome in and make a male. And we've been able to make over 80% males doing that. Really? Problem is, in the poultry industry, we're not allowed to use hormones. And so now our current work, we're trying to find a gene target to do the same thing. So that's the stuff that we are truly excited about going on in our lab. We're harnessing that maternal effect. We're trying to figure out how to make it work for the poultry industry. But we're doing some other things. We do work in both stress and reproductive endocrinology. We do work using the maternal effects. And we have a lot of welfare issues to deal with. So we're trying to program offspring so that they're less aggressive. So you don't need controversial practices like beak trimming, for example. Program them so that they're better able to live in cages, aren't as afraid of humans, aren't as stressed out by the process of transport, and also have an immunological background such that they can better respond to disease. So we have all of these things kind of going on in our lab, just trying to use these maternal effects in order to better the welfare of the birds. And that's a really big passion of mine. When I got into agriculture, not only did I want to better the poultry industry, but I really wanted to improve the conditions for the birds themselves, because there's a lot of room for improvement there in any industry, really, at this point. So that's my background, that's what I do. I just want to plug the role of women in science. And you guys have seen this float around because it's a major billboard for STEM disciplines. But what I think we really need to do with this is include agriculture on the sign, because we have a lot of STEM in agriculture. We also have a lot of agriculture that is not STEM, but it's important that we incorporate women more into this area, into these areas that are here. A lot of that is going to happen from recruiting from urban pools of women. We really need to start doing that. I came from an urban environment where no one told me agriculture existed. We need to start doing that more. And, you know, there are challenges when it comes to being a woman in agriculture, of course. There are still salary differences. We're still the minority in a lot of cases. I have 3 women in my department. We have a small number in our college comparatively to men. And the way that we solve those problems is really not to complain about them. It's to recruit more women into these fields and greater, you know, kind of force equality to happen. And that's what we have to do. So I'm really excited about this movement that we have going on here, this initiative. I want to plug this organization. It's started by grad students, by female graduate students over in the Ecology College, and it's getting really, really big. It's got incorporates undergraduates, graduate students, and faculty who mentor one another and help out to try to recruit students up into the higher education system at this point in STEM fields. And the great part about it is that they have productive discussions about how to better the lives of women in these fields. Right now, some of them are talking with the provost and the Board of Regents about the potential for parental leave here at this university. And it looks like it's really going somewhere, so it's exciting. So I encourage you guys to get involved in this and potentially get your graduate students involved in this too. And I just want to say finally that I really feel like being here I've been here and I've been able to do it all. They say women can't do it all, but we can. And more we have the support that we need to be able to do it all. These are my 2 kids, my 2 loves, and I've been able to do this, and you can have a good career, and it is possible. And that wasn't possible a little while ago. So I think we need to be very excited about that and encourage more women to get into this field and tell them that they can do all of it. And I think that's really important. So thank you very much.
Kristen, we're going to save the questions till the end, so if you would just hold your questions. After Maria speaks, we'll have questions for both of our speakers. Our next speaker today is Dr. Maria Navarro, and I will tell you, when I was Googling these 2 ladies, trying to find some cool stuff to know about them, I didn't know this, but there's actually sites where students rate teachers, and you can go on them and they write whatever they want to about you. But I'm happy to tell y'all that both of these ladies rated a 4.0, so they were both very well rated. The highest rated person I found in our college was Ronnie Silcock, so somebody tell him that. But I thought that was pretty cool. Maria Navarro and I have known each other for a very long time, so I knew a lot more about her to be able to tell you. She is just an amazingly interesting person all around. You could go all day long and never even touch on all the interesting things about this lady. I've known her because of her expertise in social science. I had an agent that was getting a degree from her, and she was their major professor, and I ended up being added to the committee to kind of help this person encourage them to finish. And you know, I'm an animal scientist by trade. I didn't know a lot about evaluation and social science, so Maria set about educating me. She would copy chapters upon chapters of Lincoln and Guba and some of the great social science works, and she'd send them to me to read, and I was afraid not to, so so I learned a lot about that. But Maria is really lifted up at this university as an excellent teacher, but when you get to know her, she's got such an interesting background. You would not really think this at first blush, but she's got a bachelor's and a master's in engineering. I mean, she came here by way of hardcore science, and now she decided she wanted to be a social scientist, so you can have it all, right, Maria? She is a partner in many different initiatives. She's won quite a few awards, but I think a couple that she's pretty proud of that I think are really impressive. In 2007, she won the President's Fulfilling the Dream Award. That's a pretty cool award to win. And just about a year ago, she won the Russell Award for Excellence in Teaching and got to be featured on the football field. That's pretty cool too. But she is in the Department of ALEC here in our college, and she has 2 sons, and I will tell you that they are very polite and they eat very healthy or their mama gets on to them. So, so I'm going to turn it over to Maria and let her tell you what she does.
She told me I just had to stand here, but apparently I have to do something else. I'm also from the South. I'm also a Southerner like you, but I'm a Southerner from Europe. I'm from Spain originally. And you said I'm an engineer. So some people say, okay, engineering, now you do social science, like what? You just get bored and do a little bit of everything. And it's funny because, yes, I have done lots of things, but oops. Even teachers make mistakes with this. I've done lots of things, but I think that it's always had a purpose and a direction. And I was told to explain today what got me here, and that's what I'm going to try to do, more than the research I do. But I do want to start with the research I do, because when she asked me to speak, I said, why should I speak in front of all these people? Can you find someone better, or someone who should do, I don't know. So I was thinking, what is my value? That's probably the first lesson today. Women, we undervalue ourselves too much. Or they tell me, don't sell you short, okay? Is that how you say it? So I do this, and I noticed that we do this. So I wanted to start there. I had to go through the thinking is, what is it that I have to tell them that could be of interest to them? So all these things that I have done and all these things that I'll go through, I think they had set me to a situation where when I ask myself, what am I good at? I'm good at what I say, speaking many different languages, but it's not the language of English or Spanish or French. It's the language of, I speak the language of the student, the language of the teacher, the language of the engineer, the language of the farmer, the language of the politician. So I can see systems, and I can think the languages and the problems from many different perspectives. So if I had to say, what am I good at? I'm a linker. I'm someone who can look at the whole problem and try to see how the different elements and the different dimensions link with each other. So one of the things that I like to do with my students is to tell them about a problem and ask them to do a mind map and ask them to show me everything that is related. So that would be an example. So I say, if we talk about food security, I try to work with them and say, what are the different dimensions? What are the different elements that we need to consider when we look at that? And then I ask them, what is it that you usually think when you want to eliminate hunger? And then they think about it and they say, well, I usually would think about agriculture production. And I'm going to start touching this and I'll make a mistake. Agricultural production. And I said, well, have you thought that having enough food is not what's going to eliminate hunger? Have you thought that what you have to make sure is that people have the appropriate diet? We have enough food in this country, but we still have hunger, we still have problems. So have you thought about the idea of access? Have you thought about the idea of how do you use that food? Have you thought about the idea of choices? Have you thought about the idea of sustainability? So I help them go through the whole process and seeing how the different things link each other. So as a researcher, what I try to see is how can we create those systems where we can analyze problems with a much easier way to address them, or to plan them, or to analyze them, or to look for solutions. But that is my introduction, why do I have to tell you how did I get there? Because that's what they asked me. So how did I get here? I got here by, okay.
You're supposed to be a 4.0 on teaching.
Out of 10?
I think it was out of 5.
So how did I get here? I also wanted to be a doctor, Kristen. I wanted to be a doctor, and I had always wanted to be a doctor. I don't think I ever thought about anything else than wanting to be a doctor. I wanted to do doctors but without borders and all these things. And I was, I think, a sophomore in high school. I'm in the kitchen with my mom, and we're cutting carrots and something, and my mom, and she cuts her finger and starts bleeding. Says, Maria, ayúdame. And I go there and I see all that blood coming, and I fainted. So there my mom is sanguinating, and I'm fainted in the middle of the kitchen. So guess what? Out of question, no doctors for me. So I just told my parents, I'm not going to be a doctor anymore. And my dad says, well, then you have to find a job. I said, well, I still want to go to the university. He says, Niña, if you're going to go to the university, you have 3 options. You're either going to become an engineer, you're either going to become a lawyer or a doctor. Anything else? You're not wasting your time. And I said, doctor's out of the question, lawyer, I don't think so. So hey, I'll become an engineer, right? So I did, and I looked and I said, okay, I still want to do this poverty, work around the world and all that. This is which one is the best? So really, I never chose agriculture. It was one of those things that I started looking and then I said, oh, yeah, that ag engineering, that sounds like food and that sounds interesting. So that's how I really started into the world of agriculture. So I wanted to go through the different things that took me where I am now through another 4.0 thing. So I was thinking, how am I going to tell them this in a way, interesting way? So I take this that I do with my students, and I thought I need to link it with agriculture and with Georgia. And then I thought, when I got here, this woman from Spain, they told me you have to remember the 5 Ps of Georgia, which now I know they have changed. Now you also have blueberries and so much more. But you have to remember the 5 Ps of Georgia. The 5 Ps, what are they? Peanuts, peaches, pines, poultry. Thank you very much. And pecans, okay? The 5 Ps of Georgia. So I said, oh yeah, I know. I'll do a presentation about my 5 Ps, right? Actually, it's 6. I don't even know how to count. My 6 Ps. So this is my presentation. I had to use a lot of dictionary for that. I really spent a lot of time in the dictionary yesterday. So those are my 5 Ps. Those are my 5 Ps. How did I get there? So I think that those are true. Those are true for everybody. I think that some of them are especially important for women. Okay. So I'm going to start with this idea of the possibilities, potential, and opportunities. I believe that I started engineering just because. Okay. I did really start there just because. And I think that lots of the things that I have done through life, I really didn't choose them. Were just opportunities that came in front of me, and I just took them. Now that's another thing. One of the things I tell my grad students, especially if they are female, is you need to learn how to say no. Because I have never learned it, right? You need to learn how to say no. And it's important to learn how to say no. But guess what? I actually think it's actually good to say yes to. Because if I think back on my 25 years in this world, a lot of the things that I have accomplished and a lot of the things that have gone well for me were actually because I said yes to something. So while this recommendation about you need to learn to say no, it's important, I also would not eliminate this idea of learning to say yes and learning to choose to what you want to say yes. So I'm backing out a little bit on this recommendation of learn to say no, because the yeses I have said, even if they were not a good idea at the time, have given me lots of opportunities. So this idea of the possibilities, the potential that these things happen. I started engineering just because, but then while I was in engineering, I had awesome opportunities that I had never worked for. People would come to me, my mentor, my biggest fan, came to me one day and said, I was in his class in plant genetics. I was in his class and says, you need to work for me. You need to come to my lab and work for me. And I'm thinking, plant genetics? But then I said, I'll think about it. And then the people who were around me said, you're saying no to Ignacio, but he's the awesomest. He's the best. He's awesome. And I said, oh, okay. So I went to see him and I said, okay, sure. Yeah, but those were opportunities that came. And I think that one of the things that we have to do as women also, be able to recognize these opportunities. Because sometimes we have to look for them, but sometimes they come. And if we say no to everything, we will not have those opportunities. So the world of agriculture, I have seen that it has given me lots of opportunities, lots of possibilities. And it had 2 Ps, right? So I just said that counts. So the possibilities that I have found in front of me have been incredible. However, I tell my children, my 2 boys, one of them is Paul, so that's not a P, right? I tell them, I says, it is important that you create an environment around yourself so that those opportunities appear around you. So you have to demonstrate to the world that you're capable, that you're a hard worker, that you are willing to do it all. Okay, so possibilities and opportunities is what really has taken me where I am, starting to, where I started, where I faint with blood. But hey, I'm glad I'm not a doctor now, right? Okay. So the next one would be this idea of the perseverance and the patience. I'm not going to lie to you. I've had lots of barriers and lots of challenges. And many times I have felt like quitting, okay? So, but hey, You have patience, it will happen, and you have perseverance. The one story that I like to talk about the perseverance and the patience is when I started, so I finished my undergrad and I got this job, which was essentially an opportunity that came to me. And I might tell you if I have time later, but this idea of the patience, I happened to have, I was still in engineering, and I had the opportunity to apply for a job. I had told my boss, while I was working in the university, that I really wanted to work for FAO, to work on food security around the world. And then one day he came to me and says, I've seen this job offer in this international center, you need to apply. And I looked at it and I said, no, they want a PhD. I said, no, you have to apply. I mean, come on, Maria, this is your dream job, you have to apply. No, they want a PhD. And I said, apply, come on, apply. So I applied. I mean, I knew it was not going to be for me, right? I applied. So I applied for the job, and I went into the interview. They called me to an interview. I didn't really know why. They called me in the interview. There were 10 people there interviewing, and they said, okay, you have said in your application that you speak French, English, and Spanish. So that's how we're going to conduct the interview. You will speak to these 3 people in French, you will speak with these 3 people in English, and with these 3 people in Spanish. And you will answer in the language that they address you. It's okay. So I conducted the interview like this, and I finished the interview, and they gave me the job. Now, they didn't give me the job because I was smart, they didn't give me the job because I was awesome, they didn't give me the job because I was an engineer. They gave me the job because I spoke languages. I hated to study languages. But guess what? Is this 2020, right? You never know what opportunity is going to appear with that. So they gave me the job, and I got the job. I worked there for 8 years. I loved it. I mean, I left it not because I didn't like it, because another opportunity came up, but I loved it. But as soon as I started, my new boss said, you know what? We hired you because we really like you, but we don't want someone who didn't have a PhD. So I'm going to pay for your PhD. I said, cool. But I will tell you what you have to study. I said, okay. He says, you need to study plant breeding. Okay, with my other boss. So I said, fine, cool. So I did start my PhD in plant breeding. So for 4 years, I had a full-time job. Half my time I was traveling all over the Mediterranean. So I was working in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Malta, Cyprus, any country in the Mediterranean. I was working, half my time I was traveling, and then when I was home, on the weekends, I was measuring photosynthesis in my plants, and at night, every single night, with the lights of my car, I was measuring respiration. For 4 years, this is my life. Not one day of vacation, not one. And I was doing different lines, so I had to compare, I was doing selection for C3 behavior and selection for C4 behavior. And then after I got to this F4, the 4th generation, I was to compare. So my 4th year was my last year where I was going to do the final comparison. So I went to Italy for a trip, work, and I spent there 3 weeks. And then I came back, and the field manager says, Maria, I need to talk to you. I said, yeah. He says, they left the gates open. I said, fine. I said, like, who cares, right? No one is going to steal my plants. No, you don't understand, they left the gates open. So, yeah, it says, the cows came in, and they ate your plants. No, they ate your plants. I tell my students, if you ever come to me and say, the dog ate my homework, I will actually believe you. The cow ate my PhD. So, the cow ate my PhD. So, hey, I'm quitting, right? So this perseverance, it's important. Now, it was actually 2020 a great thing that the cow ate my PhD. Because I don't want to be happy being a plant breeder, plant physiologist right now. I love being a social scientist. I love it. But those 4 years where I did science, where I focused on plant production, where I focused on that, it gave me this understanding of the production piece of that food security piece, right? I have the engineering perspective, and I have the farmer perspective and the politician perspective. But how about the science perspective? I need to have breathed it. I had 4 years where I didn't do anything else. So that's where the patience and perseverance. Now, my second PhD, I also had to quit it because they told us where I was working that they would kill us if we came to the sites. So I quit that one too. So the 3rd time is the charm, and I finished that one. I promise you, I have a PhD now. Okay, so But I had this new perspective, right? I have the perspective, so I have in my job the perspective of the world, the different countries, the different people, the farmers, the politicians, the bureaucracy. Oh my God, I had to do so much of that. But I have this perspective. Now the other one is the passion and having a purpose. Now I tell you, yes, engineering and then plant breeding and then social science, all over. Guess what? It's not all over. Everything else is with the same purpose and the same passion. I wanted to address food security issues. And this travel and journey gave me these different perspectives. So for me, the passion is something that everybody should have. But I think that as women, we are very, DNA'd into the idea of the purpose and the passion and the caring and having this philosophy of wanting to accomplish something with what we do. So I think this is something that has driven me, and we have to exploit it because it really helps us keep grounded, having it all. But I think that if we're grounded and we know why we're doing it, it's so much better and so much easier. So I'm busy, I'm stressed, I'm all everything you want. I mean, what am I going to tell you? But that passion really keeps me going. It has me understanding why I do what I do. Okay. Now, then there's more peace. And I think that I'm going to just say the people. And I had to say family, okay? And I say, hey, I'm Spanish, I might not know how to spell too much. So I'll just put family there as one of my keys. But people, the people around you, I mean, and the girlfriends around you. There is one there in this room that I wouldn't have survived without you, Julie. I really would not have survived without you in this place. So this idea of having people supporting you and you supporting them, it really is so extremely important. So these people around you, my mentors, they are all men until I came to this place. My mentors in Spain, they were all men. My mentors at Texas A&M were men. They are so important in this effort for women. It is not about women, it is about men and women together working so we can accomplish and we can go there. My mentor from Spain, Ignacio, he just still got me this summer to go to Spain, and he paid me to spend several days there and work there, and he still is with me. I become a social scientist, come on, Maria, but he still understands the value of what I do. So people, this family, this support, right, two P's, I can put it there. The support is extremely important. But most importantly, and as I grow older, I realize it is my job now to support all those women and to support all those men. It is my job now to do what others did for me. And I really have to work hard on this because I'm so tired, but it is part of what I need to do. Okay? Now, performance and productivity. Hey, we know we have to do it, and we do it, and we show it. The problem is that we don't say it enough. I am good, right? And look at what I did. I don't know how to say that enough. And I need to learn to say it more, and you all need to learn to say it. Yeah, hi, Laura, how are you? Great students. I mean, that's one of the best things in this university, and that's what makes me love what I do, is that the students I work with are awesome. So anyway, yeah, it wasn't planned, okay? I didn't. But this performance productivity we know. And then finally is, hey, we do need to plan and we do need to prepare and we do need to be ready for things to not go the way we want. So with this piece, I just will tell you, I think that we can, I don't think we can have it all. I don't think anyone can have it all. What we need to choose is, okay, this is all. Which ones do I really want more, and which ones do I want to focus, and how do I find my balance, and where do I want to go? And that's one of the things that I think that when we are professional women, we don't take enough time on thinking, what is it that I really want? What is it that I want to go to? And I'll be 50 this year, and I don't think I have taken the time yet to decide what all do I want, right? And I think that this is really, really important, that we really think, where is it that we are and where is it that we want to go? And not taking the time for that planning. I would never do a teaching program, ever, without planning and preparing, ever. But I see that I'm going through my life without planning and preparing. So I think that we need to learn to do it a little bit more. So with this, I don't want to go much over my time. I love it here. So thank you, everybody.
see why I picked these two? Aren't they awesome? So very different, but also with such similarities too. So I think that's great. Well, something that I have heard that I try to latch on to while I'm struggling and figuring out how I'm supposed to be doing everything I'm wanting and needing to do is that I've heard you can't have it all the time, but you can have all of it some of the time. You just have to figure out how to balance. Okay, at this time we are going to take a few questions from our audience. We had such overwhelming response to this series. We have 3 rooms here in Connor Hall. We've got one on the first floor, one on the second floor, one on the third floor, and we've got our external audiences. So we'll start with this room, and then the other audiences will be typing in questions, and Carla and Travis are going to help me monitor those. So does anyone have a question? If the 2 of y'all want to come back up here, and we'll see if anyone wants to ask y'all any hard questions. You want to ask her something about plant breeding or engineering?
Oh, I can do it still. I can do it. I can have it all, right?
Any questions? Y'all just raise your hand. Carl, you tell me if we get some from the.
I don't have anything in chat yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Those were both fantastic presentations. Thank you very much. Just a comment, really, it's balancing, I think, what we were just talking about, having it all. I heard a really great phrase once by someone, just as a woman in science and in higher education, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. And that's really how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's true. However, I think that what we need to decide is you can have it all, not at the same time, and not 100%. So you need to decide where's your 100%. Okay? Which one you want 100, which one you want 75, which one you want a 4.0.
You definitely have to dial back certain parts a little bit at certain times. I mean, I'm not unrealistic in that. But I think a long time ago, you couldn't possibly have a family and work at the same time. And I think that it's pretty amazing that we can now. And that's something that I consider to be all that I would want it. So.
I like the energy and the inspiration that
Okay. Is somebody asking a question remotely, Carla? Because we had another one here.
I mean,
We had another question right here.
the diversity that he brings.
If you're listening on site, will you please mute your microphone? There it comes.
But I like what they say, right? Inspiration. Hey, keep going.
Well, it's a good thing they're saying positive things about it. I've been on those meetings where we're muted and we're not. Okay, we got a hand up over here.
My question is,
Good leader, I think.
how do you think what you've done is different because you're a woman? How do you think it's different compared to a man who would be in your position?
Not showing.
What do you bring to this that's not just your personality being outstandingly systemic thinking and things? I mean, that's what you're both saying. You're both connecting different fields, but is it about you that's uniquely a woman?
I can tell you one example for me. Just helping. When I worked for 7 years in North Africa. So I worked in Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia, Syria and Lebanon, and in many other places. And I wasn't prepared to find what I found. No one had prepared me. They sent me in a place where I thought everybody was equal. When I started there, I was 22. I thought that I was not going to have gender issues hit me very, very hard in the face. I mean, it was my first project. I tell you, I spent the whole night crying because I went to this project, I went to the site, and I had important people, the Ministry of Agriculture. They essentially told me that if my boss was not going to be there, they would not have the meeting with me. Okay? And it was because I was a young female that looked like a 15-year-old. Okay? So it hit me really hard, and I think that experience really helped me look at things from the disadvantaged vision. It helped me take the perspective of the people who do not have a voice. It helped me work hard in giving a voice to the people who do not have a voice, in giving veto power to the people who do not have veto power, in creating a system by which people can contribute their knowledge and their ideas and their perspectives, that otherwise in the systems that we have now, they usually do not have that voice. So I think it was some of the experiences that I had that helped me put that passion into this effort. That could be one example. But I think that a man can do it too. It's just that it did set me in a, I don't know, aha moment of saying, this is something that is missing. Now, you look at the research from anthropologists and from social scientists, they all say it. So I didn't discover anything new, but I think that it gave me this extra piece of strength that I needed to work on that perspective.
So I go to a meeting every year, and a science food meeting, and a bunch of us one year were gathered around a table. It was a bunch of men and a bunch of women, and we were all discussing how we were different. And what was really interesting is that a lot of times the men's approach, from what they were saying, their approach to things was, of course I'm good. Of course I can do this. Of course, my research is the best. And they were very good at telling everybody that. And the women would be the first ones to say, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, first ones to say, oh, I hope it's good enough. Maybe I need to fix this. Maybe I need to make the design better. Oh, maybe it's not publishable, and we would all feel that way. I think it was really amazing how many women in that group were saying how they second guess themselves so often. And I think that that's something you really have to overcome along the way, and you never really fully do it. I think there's always going to be that difference. And there are men who second guess themselves, and there are women who think that they're wonderful. I'm not saying they're not. But, just in general, I think it's kind of a strength because you end up kind of working harder to get yourself over that hump, and you make sure that what you do is darn good, and so I think that, we have a benefit in a way of making sure our stuff is really good quality.
Could we also say that it's a strength that we're always reevaluating and always in progress, always formative feedback with ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but there's a danger with that.
Yeah, I know.
It's what I call analysis paralysis.
Yeah, that's time.
Analysis paralysis, and that's dangerous.
But don't you think women will criticize another woman where a male peer will not criticize another peer? That women can be the most difficult.
Oh yeah, she was all
support of each other. Like we're always. It's like women feel like they're always competing against another woman. I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I might just be my generation. I'm older than most people here, but I mean, women can be really
I
tough on other
think
women.
you might be right, but I think that there's no doubt what she says. We need to do it more, support each other.
Yeah, we definitely need.
But yeah, I see what you're. I don't know. It depends. I think that we're learning to not do it so much.
Yeah. Well, that's reassuring.
Okay, let's take one more question here, and then we'll go to some of our other audiences. This one right here.
I don't really have a question. First of all, thank you for putting this together. It's just phenomenal. And to the two of you, it's very inspirational to hear what you have to say, and you weave the comedy in there, and it's just great to come together.
They're 4.0 takes.
The only thing I would ask for is, with the family, the PH and everything, can we have a copy of that?
Sure, we'll put it up on our website if y'all will let us have your presentation.
I just retired 31 years of federal law enforcement, worked my entire career in a field of men. So women in agriculture is just moving to a different field, but it's the same. It's primarily run by men as opposed to women. And I think that both of your presentations are very inspiring, and I think that would help us.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll tell you a little bit more about our resources and our website, and we will definitely put that. Carla, do we have any external questions? Do we have any?
I don't have any type.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to be sensitive to your time, so maybe we'll take one more question here, and then we'll wrap up. We were trying to finish by 1 o'clock so that you could all get back to your very important jobs. So we'll take one more question, and then we'll wrap it up. Anybody have one more question?
There are 2 questions, and there's some questions upstairs.
Okay, can you read us one of those, please, Carla?
I think they're going to voice it.
Go ahead.
Paula, we have a question from 307.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey there, I just wanted to ask how you think that women can uniquely contribute to leading the efforts to make sure that we have a secure food system that will actually feed the world's current and growing population. So how...
Lauren, that was Lauren, right? Lauren, the first step would be to ask you to lead the way, but if you want, I think that one thing that is important, I think it's both women and men. I don't think this can happen. One of the big issues with food security with the poorest populations is that the people who produce the food are in charge of making the day-to-day decisions of producing the food are the women, but the women do not have access to the resources they need to actually improve their food production. So women are the ones that will produce food for the families, but they do not own the land, they do not own the rights to get water, they do not own transportation, they do not own ability to have money to purchase goods. So one of the big problems is that the people doing and securing food for people don't have the resources to do it better. So I think that by men and women together giving the access to those resources to the women, that's how women can ensure this food security around the world. But they do need access to those resources, to that knowledge, to that choice-making, problem-solving perspective. So I think it's everybody giving the tools to the women to do their jobs more freely and better.
And I would add to that in terms of leading the way, I think obviously we definitely have to work with men. And I think it's not a women-led initiative at all. It's more a collaborative initiative, like I said. But the one thing that we can bring to the table, I mean, there's scientific evidence that women's brains act differently than men's. We think differently than men. We come up with different solutions than men do. And so the way that we're going to help solve the world's problems is to come together with men and add our ideas, our new ideas that we only may be able to think of. And that's how we're going to really contribute and help create some of the solutions that we need.
What a great point to end on. Let's thank our speakers.